Hey, everybody. My name is Christopher Breedlove. Thanks for being here today. This is a BWB worldwide call. We've been doing these, I think, since 2019. And the reason we've been doing these is that as BWB has become more and more decentralized communities around the world, we've wanted to create a regular digital space for people to come into, for people to learn from, and to be able to continue a conversation with our community that is in so many places around the world. And this call today is special for us because I can't believe it, but 20 years ago in 2005, that's when Hurricane Katrina hit. At the same time as Burning Man. And that's when that original Genesis story of the volunteers going down to Katrina happened. And since then, now, again, so many things are happening around the world. And as we've been doing these projects and these grants and these communities around the world, we've been finding that we are learning a deeper lessons and better language around the narrative of what Burners Without Borders is. And so while we really started in that kind of disaster response area, over the last few decades, we've been moving more and more into community resiliency and seeing how communities can respond at home to the things that are happening. And what we found through that is that when communities respond to the issues at home, they are ready for that disaster to respond whenever that happens. And now the word we're playing with for this next coming decade is regeneration. And for us, regeneration really means focusing on potential over problems. It means looking at systemic issues and really getting to the root causes of what's happening. Because I know for me, after having gone to a few different hurricane zones over the years, I don't want to put up drywall again in a home that's been hit and molded after a hurricane. I think if I have to keep on putting up that drywall, then maybe there's something systemically we could look at in the way we build our homes, in the ways we create infrastructure in different places. And so that's really our calling and our conversation. And this isn't something for us that is like a this then that from response to resilience to regeneration. It's something that we actually have found is inherent in many of the projects we've been doing all along. And so really for us, it's a realization of how these words and these terms might affect the projects going into the future.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jamie Braun. I am a project manager for Burners Without Borders. Welcome. It's so great to see so many faces and names that we recognize here. So tonight we're really gathering in the spirit of celebration. So many of you on this call have been involved during the past 2 decades. Um, and you have been doing just creative, community-driven work. So for folks that may be new to BWB, we're really rooted in the belief that everyone has something to contribute, and the real change starts locally with people showing up for each other in creative, joyful, and unexpected ways. So tonight, we're honored to share some of the stories of 3 projects that reflect the moment that we're at with the network. And they're here to show us what happens when civic action, doesn't come from a place of scarcity or obligation, but from culture, creativity, and care. So you'll hear about a youth arts movement in Guatemala. We have the founders of CHiditarod and also the founder of Replant the Forest, a festival rooted in reforestation efforts. So, what connects these projects isn't just what they do, it's how they do it. And it's typically with play and purpose and with a deep commitment to place and the people. So, as we move through the stories tonight, we invite you to listen not just for inspiration, but for connection, for ideas, for sparks you might carry back to your own corner of the world. So, let's get into it. First up, we're excited to introduce the filmmakers behind a powerful story of youth-led transformation. In 2022, film producer and writer Anna Haddington received a Burners Without Borders community microgrant on behalf of Peronia Adolescente, the program at the heart of the film Comparsa. I had the honor of witnessing the very first screening, and what emerged was more than just a film. It's a celebration of art as a tool for resistance, healing, and community building. So Anna's the film's producer and writer. She's a theater artist and youth advocate. And Anna also serves as the film's community liaison and impact producer, rooting her work in community, imagine, and justice. And we also have Vicki Curtis, the film's director, producer, and writer, making her directorial debut with Comparsa. Vicki is an Emmy-winning writer of Netflix originals The Social Dilemma and Chasing Coral, with a body of work that explores the systematic roots of societal and ecological crisis and the artists and activists working to rebuild. Her storytelling spans acclaimed films, and she brings a collaborative, justice-driven ethos to her work. So please join me in welcoming Vicki and Anna, the storytellers behind this vibrant and deeply moving project.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us to Burners Without Borders today. I must admit, I personally have never been to Burning Man, but I did marry a burner. So I am adjacently, yeah, a burner-in-law or such. Uh, I'm Vicky, like Jamie so eloquently put. I'm the director of this project. I've been a writer on other projects. I waited a long time to direct my own project, specifically looking, had worked on a lot of stories that were about the problems and the poly crisis and environmental collapse and social collapse, all of which is important to point a lens at. But I was really excited to do my next project, pointing the lens at people living the solutions. And feel very much like I found that in the main characters of our film, Leslie and Lupe. Then I can let Anna introduce herself and her connection to this community in Guatemala.
Hi, everyone. It's wonderful to be here and connect with you all. I had the amazing opportunity to travel down to Guatemala in 2007, and I ended up spending 10 years working with the amazing community of Ciudad Peronia, which is an urban community on the outskirts of Guatemala City that you can see a little window into here. And it's a place where there's significant scarcity of resources, marginalization, and where young people are deeply affected by stigma. They lack basic access to, public education, public health systems. It's also significant to our project as a place where violence against women and girls is pretty rampant. Guatemala unfortunately has one of the highest rates of femicide and gender-based violence in the world. But in the midst of that reality, there is an amazing bright spot in the community, and that is this extraordinary group of young artists and youth organizers that since the 90s have been leading this grassroots project to harness the power of art as a tool for healing themselves and their community. And so, yeah, we are, I was incredibly honored to spend those years with them. And also, we were so excited to connect with Burners Without Borders a few years ago and receive a community microgrant. You can see a photo here of that project.
The project that is unfolding in Guatemala is run by these young people, but they are woefully underfunded, and their microphone is still pretty small despite the quality of the work they do, the efficacy, the advanced strategic maneuvers that they make to create safety and voice possibilities for other young people in their community. It was through 17 years of relationship building, thanks to Anna living and working alongside this community, that she brought her high school friends, me and my co-director Doug, into this project to help amplify the story and really co-create a film with Leslie and Lupe about the work they're doing as they sort of become the rising new leaders of the movement. They were in their teens. They were 19 and 18 when we started filming, and 6 years later, we have completed the project altogether. So yeah, the community is deeply involved in this storytelling effort. Leslie and Lupe are co-writers on the project. One of our cinematographers is Edgar Tui, a Mayan man who grew up doing this artwork that Peronia Adolescente, the youth organization, does, and is kind of a poster child of really like having found his artistic voice and his purpose through that program and then got to sort of pay it back by being a cinematographer for the film that tells the story of the organization. I can tell you a little bit more about the film. It follows these two main characters. This here is Leslie, her little sister Lupe, we saw on the slide before. They are the ones using art to fight for the survival and liberty of young women in the community. So over the course of the film, they rally a group of teenagers together. They take to the streets with body painting, fire performance, circus arts, batucada beats, stilt walking, a beautiful array of art and costumery. And they parade that on display, crossing gang boundary lines and calling in the community to talk about the issues that matter. The process of putting all this together is super healing for the women and girls who have participated in it, many of whom are survivors of sexual assault themselves. And it's also healing for the community at large, who's still reeling after a horrific case of femicide took the lives of 41 girls who were killed at a state-run facility in the hands of the government. Because direct protest for that sort of violence by the state is dangerous, the girls have figured out how to use art as a strategic Trojan horse for change making in the community and really sharing their message. So, one thing that they talk about is how they're sick of only making the news when after they've been murdered. That's how girls in the community feel, is that they're only ever in the headlines if they've been killed. And they want to change that. So they want to bring an audience to this positive work they're doing. And that was largely why they were excited to make the film. So their story is one of transcendence, is one of triumph. Art is their weapon of choice. The young women who join them in the Comparsa are fully transformed by the experience, and I'm sure a lot of people on this call can relate as people who probably find those transformative experiences through art at Burning Man and similar type events. So we want to help spread that methodology that is so core to re-envisioning a better world and better systems. And Leslie and Lupe are our partners in doing that and getting this film out into the world. So it's sort of not just happening in secret down in Peronia. And now we're going to share with you a trailer of the film that'll just introduce you to our main character, Leslie, and you'll see a little bit about how they work and the art that they make.
Soy Leslie Noemi Canela Pérez. Soy de acá, de la comunidad de Ciudad Peronia. Lupe es mi hermana. Comparsa es algo vivido, algo que se siente. Comparsa es amor, comparsa es alegría, comparsa son colores, miradas y recuerdos también. Y ahora es feo a quitarte de ese pedazo de tierra que has cuidado tanto tiempo. Me da mucho temor porque yo sé quiénes están bajo ese poder, ¿verdad? Me pueden hacer daño o dañar a mi familia en cualquier momento. La información sobre el caso de las niñas que fueron quemadas no se ve. Las noticias no dicen nada. Merece que su caso tenga justicia. La historia se tiene que saber. Cerremos los ojos. Somos capullos con el mundo de cabeza. Cargamos con generaciones de dolor, de lucha y nudos que vamos desenredando. ¿Cuántas veces te has quedado callada? ¿Cuántas veces?
Creo que hay muchos hombres que no tienen como esta responsabilidad, como la que yo tengo.
14 de febrero desaparecieron. Y aparecieron 8 días después. Imagínate a la mamá esperando que su hija entrara a su casa. ¿Están listos? ¿Están listos? Hoy vamos a pedir justicia por todas las que están y las que ya no están.
These are some photos of our world premiere that was at Sheffield Doc Fest in the UK, and our amazing colleagues Leslie and Lupe came and did a fire and stilts performance. And we've been in 2 film festivals so far and taken home 3 awards. So we're really just thrilled about that. For us, it's more than a movie for a film's sake. It is truly about the youth movement behind this. And so we believe this film is an opportunity to drive resources back to these young change makers in Guatemala, and beyond that, actually share a methodology that is so incredibly accessible and invigorating with young people and artists around the world.
Yes, now we need to get the film seen. So some things that we wanted to just offer for folks who wanted to stay in the loop or get involved. Leslie and Lupe and their mentor Marta, who are all in the film, they're preparing to do a tour of this film in Guatemala and use it as a teaching tool to spread their methodology to other communities of young people living on the outskirts, living in the shanty towns that surround the capital, and moving, into the city and out of the city into rural communities. We have tons of partners in Guatemala who are ready to launch this. Leslie and Lupe have partnerships built with public schools throughout the Guatemala City urban region, and they want to basically take over health class for a 7-week period and teach Comparsa as a tool for healing. So now we are fundraising to make that possible, because while these girls are willing to work for nothing, they shouldn't have to and can't continue to forever. And so we are helping fundraising for both the ongoing impact of this film outside of Guatemala, in the United States and elsewhere, and also the work that Leslie and Lupe are leading with the film inside of Guatemala. And wanted to let you all know about that. If you want to connect the film or Leslie and Lupe and our team with brands, foundations, individuals who would resonate with this work, we can take this little spark started, with a micro grant years ago and really spread it. So that's one thing that will be really helpful to us. And the other thing is that we would love to invite you to see the film and spread the word about the film, and join sort of the film family and the Comparsa family. And so we are also going to share a link to a Google form. If you want to drop in your name, your email, and where you live, we can reach out to you when we know that the film will be screening at a festival near you. We have about 10 more festivals lined up, and we're waiting to hear back from dozens and dozens more. So we would love to bring the film to you and have you bring all your friends to the film.
Awesome. So I'm going to drop that Google link if you want to stay connected and see the film in your region. And then if anyone's interested in supporting Leslie and Lupe's cause and the work that they're doing, this is a link to a fundraiser that supports their work down in Guatemala. And I'm also going to go ahead and drop that link in the chat. And thank you all for this opportunity to share with you.
Thank you so much, Anna and Vicky. And I think one of the, one of the reasons we really wanted to invite them on this call is that response can look very, very different. And while kind of in our mind, it was a disaster response moment, this is a beautiful response to a societal or man-made issue. So thank you guys so much for sharing their work here. And we'll pass it off to Breedlove to take us to the next project.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Anna and Vicky. And yeah, now we're going to move on to a project that builds resilience. And CHiditarod is a project that is near and dear to my heart as a former Chicago burner. CHiditarod is a shopping cart race. It's a subversive spectacle of art and mayhem, and it is also possibly the world's largest mobile food drive. It has raised over 300,000 pounds of food and more than $1 million for local hunger relief since its inception in 2006. And joining us are 2 of my good friends, Liz and Devin. Liz Campanella Breen is a creative community catalyst, best known as the founder of Chicago's Full Moon Jam and co-founder of CHiditarod. And whether she's dancing with fire or under a full moon or rallying wildly dressed mushers for a good cause, Liz is infusing passion and creativity into Chicago's cultural life, blending art, adventure, and altruism. And Devin Breen is also a co-founder of CHiditarod and steered it from a back alley mischief to a city-sanctioned phenomenon. As its musher-in-chief and foundation president, he also helped ignite Chicago's Burn non-for-profit, Burn, and spent a decade lighting up international stages with the Pyrotechnique Fire Troupe. Equal parts ringleader, civic alchemist, Devin blends spectacle, satire, and social impact in a distinctly Chicago brand of organized chaos. Devin and Liz, thanks for joining us today.
Welcome, everyone. We're Devin and Liz, co-founders of CHiditarod, and we're excited to take you on a 2-decade journey through spectacle, food justice, and community resilience, all from behind a shopping cart. Let's begin by explaining what is CHiditarod. It's a satirical play off of the Alaskan Iditarod, to which we have no relation whatsoever. Instead of dogs, we have humans. Instead of sleds, we have decorated carts. And we've replaced the frozen tundra with the sometimes frozen streets of Chicago. It's always held on the first Saturday of March, so mark your calendars now for CHiditarod 21.
It's part epic, chaotic shopping cart race, neighborhood bar crawl, beauty pageant, talent show, and street theater, full of satire, sabotage, bribery, and irreverence. By the numbers, 20 years, can't believe it's been that long. 9,105 total participants. We've had 3,949 total volunteers for a complete epic participation over 20 years of awesomeness. In those years, we have collected over 300,397 pounds of food collected for 6 food pantry partners over the years, including the Greater Chicago Food Depository and Nourishing Hope. In 2025, we celebrated an incredible accomplishment, cresting the $1 million fundraising milestone.
And through our annual grant program, CHiditarod has awarded 152 hunger fighting grants, totaling $707,350.
Good job.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Let's explore CHiditarod timeline through the lens of resiliency. CHiditarod started in 2006 as a wild experiment, inspired by the spontaneous creative participation of Burning Man. By 2008, our event had tripled in size, and we were almost getting arrested.
Uh-oh.
2012, CHiditarod 7, was a big turning point. Our first fully sanctioned event, the first year teams began fundraising, and the formation of our nonprofit, the CHiditarod Foundation. In 2014, we received a cease and desist letter from the Iditarod Trail Committee, of which we have no relation, which we fought and won. In 2021 and 2022, CHiditarod 16 and 17 ramped up our COVID response, helping keep the doors open at food pantries and adding a new infrastructure grant category. Instead of our normal race, we held a lockdown film festival, and the next year, a Block-Ditarod block party. And last but not least, in 2025, we had our 1 million milestone year.
Let's look at our philanthropic efforts through the lens of resiliency. 1 in 5 households in Chicago experience food insecurity. CHiditarod has always had a philanthropic aspect, and in the beginning, in year 1, as a way to not get arrested, and very quickly became the driving force behind the event, we started a food drive. Yes, the rod is a blast on its own, but even more gratifying and impactful when you make a difference in your local community. As we grew, so did our organization. We founded the official 501c3 in 2012 to provide structural stewardship of fundraising and launched our microgrant program. We learned legitimacy is vital for long-term survival and not getting arrested. In recent years, we realized that collecting physical food was no longer the most efficient means of creating impact. Our food pantry partners could create more meals with monetary donations over the event's physical food donations. The food drive was tightly linked with our identity and took a few years of evolution before we found the sweet spot of allowing teams to bring either the appropriate poundage of food or contribute monetarily to our food drive partner, all in the goal of helping to solve food insecurity in Chicago. What started as a handful of friends and a ridiculous idea grew into a well-oiled machine over the years. We built a board of directors and now operate with about 10 core organizers, a tight crew keeping the heart and chaos alive. This photo is a recent representation of our leadership. Core organizers, board members, leads from our checkpoints, bike marshals, merch, media, and other rock star volunteers. Something we've definitely learned over the years is how to have fun and do good at the same time.
In 2014, The Iditarod Trail Committee, which I have to say again, we are not related to, tried to shut us down by demanding we change our name after we had been using it to fight hunger for 9 years. Their argument was that our name was confusing our race participants and that similar requests had been sent to other events. Some events immediately changed their name. The most amusing name change was New York City's change from Idiotarod to Idiotarodorama.
It's quite a tongue twister.
Indeed.
How do you spell that?
I have no idea. But rather than folding as some other events did, CHiditarod got to work. We found a pro bono legal support in Chicago and stood our ground. That fight not only protected our name, it galvanized our identity as a resilient, creative troublemakers, willing to do what it takes for our community. Satire is woven into CHiditarod as a founding concept, a strategy, and a way of engaging with the world. It allows our participants to critique consumerism, bureaucracy, and social systems while transforming absurdity into art and action. That irreverent energy is central to who we are. It draws people in and provides a platform for tongue-in-cheek creativity. Over the years, we've also come to understand that satire carries responsibility. Without care, it can slip into territory that reinforces harmful stereotypes or excludes those already on the margins. What's funny to some can feel very dehumanizing to others. So, over the years, we've grown. We've established clear community guidelines and offer education to encourage thoughtful participation. We remind teams that satire can challenge power when used wisely, but it should never come at the expense of those with less of it. We've learned to uphold both freedom and accountability, preserving space for bold creativity while ensuring our humor uplifts rather than undermines.
The pandemic. No race, no problem. The 2020 race occurred just days before lockdown, like 4 or 5 days. When that happened, we went into full relief mode. The foundation gave away nearly $100,000 in grants right away. In 2021, when race day chaos wasn't possible indoors, we created Block Diderod, pandemic edition, socially distanced, costume block party, which enabled us to distribute $120,000 in community grants, our biggest year of giving to date. Way to go for a community to rally around a need. That pivot demonstrated both the resilience of our community and its ability to rise to meet new challenges while having fun still. With a normal chaos paused, our community carried the mission forward and literally kept some of our grant recipients from closing their doors.
In short, the mission outlives the media.
20 years. Wow.
Yep.
The question now is, how do we continue into the next chapter without losing what makes CHiditarod CHiditarod? In addition to scaling and ensuring our event continues to be impactful and irreverent, we are hatching plans to refresh our open source Rod in the Box resource kit, a set of instructions and supporting documents which has helped spawn CHiditarod style events in other cities. Who doesn't want to race with a shopping cart? And we are actively seeking the next generation of leadership, from producing the annual event to guiding our not-for-profit. We're not done mushing yet. We're just getting started.
We close with a moment of gratitude.
For those who have participated in CHiditarod in any form over the last 2 decades, we salute you.
To Burners Without Borders, who along with CHiditarod celebrates its 20-year birthday this year. Doing anything for 20 years is quite a feat. And to the resilient 20-year partnership between our organizations, guided by visionaries such as Chris Breedlove and Tom Laporte, both instrumental in providing encouragement and mentorship as CHiditarod grew from a group of cacophonists doing a good thing all wrong into a full-blown Chicago institution.
Here's to another 20 years of CHiditarod, the ultimate form of civic engagement and participatory chaos.
Mush.
Liz and Devin, thank you so much. CHiditarod is so inspiring. And I want to say to, you two are also so inspiring. As you kind of said, for you to be able to hold something for 20 years and to also build that leadership behind you both so that you can continue to do other things in the world, it's really amazing. And I can't wait to see what CHiditarod becomes and what both of you do next.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Presley. Breedlove, thank you.
All right. So I just want to highly encourage you all, if you're ever in the Midwest at that time of year, definitely check out CHiditarod. It is so much fun. And we are going to move on now to our third project. And this is the project that we really wanted to use to highlight the idea of regeneration. So we are going to be highlighting the Replant the Forest Festival. It's a 501c3 organization, which I should say I am a board member of, and our mission is to create artistic cultural spaces for environmental action. Brock Pollock is the founder and executive director of Replant the Forest Festival. A lifelong nature lover and professional musician, he has dedicated his life to the intersection of creativity and ecological restoration. Brock believes deeply in the vital role that music, art, and community play in healing the biosphere, and is also, I believe, a dad of 6 weeks right now, which is a new thing. Welcome to the call, Brock. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Replant the Forest Festival. Like Christopher was just sharing, we are a nonprofit organization based in Los Angeles, California. And really the ethos of this whole organization started from the desire to have a festival that had a positive impact. I love festivals, a lot of us love festivals, and sometimes at the end of the festival you look around and it's a question of, you know, all that fun led to a lot of trash and impact, and can we have festivals that are positive impact? And we went on to explore that. Let's see here. So we founded in 2021, but we didn't really get started doing our events until December of 2022. Since then, we've planted over 6,000 plants. We've held multiple events. We've had some mass planting events, and all of them have to do with really bringing community together and creating an intersection between ecosystem restoration and music and fun. Personally, I was out there planting a lot of trees. I was also out there playing a lot of music, and the two communities weren't interacting, and we've created a space for them to team up together. In the first couple years of our work, we were really focused on teaming up with big restoration organizations to help them execute these really large projects in a fun and different way, like the Santa Monica Mountains Fund and City Plants. We also held just community events like olive picking and bringing people to parks. But the main vision has always been to have our own full-on festival, weekend-long camping, music, the whole nine. And we finally found a beautiful property at that in 2024. We found this property, and we were working really hard to figure out how we can make it happen, and it just wasn't really coming together for us yet. And then in November of that year, the mountain fire started, and the property burnt down. And all of the property, with the exception of the main structures and the animals, were burnt. So the place went from looking like this, which is pretty lush and full on, and I have to say that this is a community farming area for the local community. They're really amazing people, to this deeply fire-scarred landscape. And when this happened, it was the end of 2024, and it became clear to us that this is really the time where we need to step up and collaborate with them, because this is degraded land, and we can help carry out the planting grant they had in place. We can bring in more plants, we can bring in more hands, more resources to help this awesome Leap Lab farm bounce back. And so we got to work. The first thing that we started doing was preparing for a run-up event to our festival that we called Dig and Dance. And throughout the entire experience with them, we brought in 100 cubic yards of compost that we were able to get donated or bring through our organization. We also did some scraping and terraforming to really mark out where we were going to be creating this pollinator habitat. And we got to work. We started mixing in wood chips and compost and spreading a mixture of grass seeds to really revitalize the soil, because it was not doing well. We also tested the soil to make sure that it was safe for everybody. And we were able to water the soil. We teamed up with an amazing composting company called Catalyst Soil Bioamendments and rejuvenated the soil with really high-end compost extract. And yeah, after that, we had a party. So this area is also, they have the largest dinosaur bone collection that's not in a museum in Southern California. And we turned it into the dinosaur disco and danced all night, and it was really fun. And that was because that was a success, we decided we're going to do the full-on festival. And in April of this year, we did it. This is that same area you saw us working on. We planted tons of really, lots of different stuff, kale and native grass, all types of things. We also installed an irrigation pipe so that we have water to make sure we have continual care for our whole restoration project, as well as water on both sides of our campsite and an outdoor shower. We also were able to measure the fact that when we are able to do these large grass plantings in areas that were bare before, the ground is much softer. So we fought compaction, and now more water is going to be soaked up by the soil and stored in the ground. This is my beautiful wife. As we mentioned, I'm a dad now. She was 7 months pregnant when we hosted this festival. So let's hear it for big, powerful women. Even if they're in a small package, God bless her. Love her so much. Okay. So this is a view of the night, our campground. Up here is our tea lounge. A lot of the Burners Without Borders friends that I made from when I went and camped with you all were out here. On Saturday morning, we got started with our main impact of the event, and it rained that morning, which was pretty intense for me for a little bit, but it was amazing for the land, and it became really beautiful, and everyone was resilient. And yeah, we got planting. And I have to say that the magic of what we're doing is that people don't really feel like they're volunteering. They just feel like they're being empowered and that they're connecting with something really beautiful and really fun. And we planted over 350 plants during that afternoon, engaging lots of people, lots of laughs. We also did a number of these larger oak trees, which should help with succession, as well as willow planting. And of course, we had live music during the planting, DJ, acoustic sets. Gotta have music during the planting, gotta have fun. We also harvested all the kale, well, not all of it, but a lot of the kale for our food, and did some permaculture swale digging to continue to make sure we're retaining as much water in the ground as possible. We had amazing food that was cooked by volunteers and friends, and we're able to just sit around and enjoy each other and celebrate after the day of planting, the morning of planting. Something that is really important to our community is learning. The community seems to really attract in folks that want to learn more about how they can empower themselves in the face of climate change and disaster. And so we had talks on compost and biochar and the food soil web, and using mushrooms to remediate after wildfire. We also had a really beautiful tea lounge, which was just a blast up at the top with a gorgeous mountain view. And much more activated dinosaur disco with sound baths, musicians, full bands, solo artists, and really just leaned into it all night long, which everybody really just had a great time and felt like they worked hard and they played hard. So all in all, it was a massive success, and we're really grateful that we had the opportunity to take this big growth step this year into hosting full weekend festivals. And, our real goal is to continue to do this work. So if you're interested in helping us and joining us, one of the things that we really benefit from are the camp communities throughout Burning Man, and just the people who really want to give back to the earth, but also do it in a fun way and an experimental way. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Brock, for sharing about Replant the Forest. I was just sitting here thinking, well, I can't wait to see the update in 20 years from you guys. So, yeah, thank you so
Hopefully we own
much.
our own ranch at that point. That's one of the big dreams, you know.
Great. We will keep that vision for you. So right now I wanted to just ask a few questions to some of the panelists, and I think I'm going to go ahead and start with Comparsa. And as I was watching the movie, the film, I was wondering what or how or why do you feel that these young people were able to lead this response? Like, what were their foundations or culture in place for this to emerge? Like, it's just such a unique response. So I'm just curious if there was something there that you feel.
Yeah, sure. And Jamie, I am excited for you to see the finished film. It is so different from the rough cut that you saw in last fall, but it's just awesome to have you get to sort of see the progression. We did get a question in the chat just about the film, and I wanted to let everyone know that right now we're on a festival tour, so the only way to see it is to come to a festival where it's playing, and we are very actively seeking distribution on broadcast or streamers and other platforms to get the story out there. So we do hope that it becomes more accessible to more people so you can see all this good work that Leslie and Lupe are doing. They very much did not come from, they were not like poofed into existence. They have mentors who have been trained in these sort of theater of the oppressed and circus arts and arts as tool for healing ways that have come through other artists that have come before them as leaders of this project. One lovely woman named Marta started the organization with her brother and sister, Nawal and Sara, in the 90s. And so she's served as a really powerful mentor to a lot of people at this point, including to Anna. And Anna can speak a little bit more about that lineage.
Yeah, one of the philosophies of the organization, it's a totally grassroots and locally run organization, but they believe in they call it the generational relay. So the idea of that you at every level you're passing the baton to the younger folks. So the kids that are like, 13 in the project are looking to bring in some 10-year-olds. And so it goes. And Leslie and Lupe, that are now in their early 20s, have actually made a huge impact with several generations now of teens that are now taking on leadership roles within their community.
And more and more girls have been participating over the years, in part because of the example that Marta and Anna, when she worked there, and now Leslie and Lupe have set, that this sort of public, ecstatic, joyful, empowered, stilt walking mayhem is not just for boys. And that's like a huge part of the narrative strategy shift that we want to see everywhere we bring the story, is just the embodied liberation that Leslie and Lupe bring to the screen. And when you meet them in real life, they're like so fucking funny. And it's just awesome to have them hold them up as an example to other girls. Because you need like an example of how to be this way, right, in order to achieve it.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful answer, and the how profound mentorship is in this type of work and how it can ripple out so strongly. So that's awesome. So I think my next question is for Devin and Liz. So you two have been doing this for 20 years, which is awesome. What has allowed CHiditarod to stay resilient and relevant for almost 2 decades?
Play, impact, community building. I think there's a big piece of CHiditarod. Many of our racers have been racing now for almost 15 years, between 10 and 15 years. So a racing team is 5 people and a shopping cart. Oftentimes now it's 10 people and 2 shopping carts.
Or 15 people and one huge hot dog that has 3 shopping carts built inside of it, for example.
That ability to reconnect sometimes with friends of old that you maybe only see once a year, or in the case of like a Burning Man theme camp where you get to collaboratively build together with people year round, is I think a huge piece of why we're so successful is people just keep coming back to have fun and to have a playground in which they can be creative and also know that they are really changing the face of Chicago. Over the course of 20 years, we've now been able to keep food pantries open in times of need when it's not the holidays or when it's not some big corporate push during the summer. They've become reliant upon the work that we do. In addition to that, there's
Well, CHiditarod is really fun. Okay, like, and so if we think about a parallel to Burning Man, one, Burning Man is fun. Burning Man is extreme, right? Burning Man is immediate, right? Like these are three particular examples that I can draw on that CHiditarod very much embodies. So for a few hours on a cold, otherwise dull and dreary early spring, late winter day in Chicago.
Sometimes it's 70 degrees.
Sometimes
it's 17.
Sometimes, yeah, that's kind of a swing, right?
Yeah.
But for that period of time, we get self-proclaimed non-artists having the ability to run roughshod down the middle of the street in Chicago, decked out with all their friends, with this crazy theme that they built, with a full police escort. Like these sorts of experiences they've become core memories for people within CHiditarod. Liz's point about the community of CHiditarod is really relevant here because once people get a taste of this, they're either like, I'm never doing that again, or they're like, I'm doing this forever. This is better than Christmas. Like it's better than anything else, right? And so that sort of like enthusiasm is not something that, as we know, is once you know what it is that inspires you, you know, right?
The other piece too is there's a very healthy dose of competition. So part of what we didn't talk about is that carts are judged against each other. They're at every checkpoint. A checkpoint is a bar. So the race is 5 miles. There are 5 bars. You have to stop at every bar for 25 minutes, and you're judged at every bar by a host of team groups called master judges. And in the end, there are awards you can win, such as best costume, best cart build, the fastest racing time, best use of duct tape. And so we keep things very entertaining for people. And also people just want to win. Plain and simple, they're like, I'm going to win the best duct tape this year.
And when you win best duct tape, you get a trophy, right? Every single year, we have artists, we commission artists to create trophies, right? Like, and so there's only like a couple of these, right? So teams try really, really hard to win these things, both for the kind of the bragging rights, as well as just, because they come one year and they're like, wow, that's so cool, I want to do that, and then they go bigger, just like we experienced with theme camps and everything else. You get inspired and then you just want to take something to the next level. And one of the things that's magical about CHiditarod, and I'll go back to this idea of non-artists, is like, just like Playa, we create this platform, right? Like it's not necessarily a container because it's just like spilling out all over Chicago, like for this period of time, right? And so conversely to Burning Man, right, which kind of exists in a container in a place, Chicago, like this event is very much in the public sphere. It's very much civic, and what happens is like people are out walking their dog, and then all of a sudden, 3 CHiditarod teams running their dogs run by, and then folks are like, what the heck is this? Like, I want to do this, and then the next year we see them, right? And so some of the big magic about CHiditarod is that it's very much in the civic sphere, and it's accessible to anybody who wants to participate.
A key piece of the resiliency is there's always food insecurity going on, unfortunately. And especially as food prices get higher and global warming happens, things like that are going on. There's always a need for people to be fed. And that is true and dear to everyone's heart, is making sure that there is food on someone's plate. And so it's kind of a hook, line, and sinker. Wait, having fun along with helping people have food in their bellies? Of course, let's do this. Now, realistically, as we all get older, a lot of people don't want to run 5 miles anymore. You can walk it. The race is designed that you can slowly mosey the whole race at a wonderful pace and stopping by and talking to kids as you're dressed up as some action hero or whatever your theme is of the day. And so it's kind of become a Chicago institution, and we've told it's not allowed to stop at this point.
Yeah. And there's something kind of alluring about asking for forgiveness rather than permission, right? And he's, at least initially, right? Once the police commander began to threaten us with, you know, we're not going to shut you down this year, but next year you need a permit, right? Like that's just all it's very interesting, and it has its own kind of allure, right? Especially in a world full of rules, right, and laws and everything else. It's you know, in the words of the police sergeant years and years ago, as he looked at us and then looked back at all these teams running, he says, "You know, you're doing a good thing, but you're doing it all wrong." And I couldn't wear that as a higher badge of honor.
Nice, nice. Thank you guys so much. Classic. And then Brock, next question is for you, and I'm curious. So regeneration is about so much more than just planting trees. So how do you define regeneration in your work?
Yeah, I think regeneration, it's a really big spectrum, you know. I think when you're dealing with an environmental issue, it's not something that one person or one community is going to fix or heal, but there's a lot of different pieces of the puzzle that can come into place. And so when we host events, you know, we're helping the land and restoring that particular area, allowing for more life to happen there, whether that's insect life, soil life, birds, but also just the quality of people's life and together. And I think especially in a post-pandemic world where a lot of people were put into the corner for a long time, creating spaces where they can come together, they can be outside, they can do something that feels positive and impactful while making new friends, while just being social and connecting. And I also really believe that, you know, when we get to plant, we really connect with the earth deeper. There's something about putting your hands in the soil that the soil reaches back out. And when these type of connections are being made with the earth and with community, we all just are kind of regenerating ourselves and regenerating our community and creating a space for conversations on how we do things differently, how we have less impact, you know, around waste, and how we have less impact around our lifestyles and learning with each other. And it's really about blending, you know, positive environmental impact with positive human impact and trying to do it a little bit better, you know, inch by inch, just try to do a little bit better.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. So as we're approaching the top of the hour, I just want to invite everybody to stay connected with BWB through our social media channels. We have an event calendar on our website, as well as a project proposal form where you can share any ideas about projects that you believe will bring about meaningful change in your community. And for those of you that will be on Playa this year, we invite you to join us on Thursday night, where we'll be having our celebration, the Give a Damn a Jam, where we're honoring 20 years of community-led action beyond Black Rock City. And if you'd like to chat with some of the presenters today, we'll be opening up some breakout rooms, and I'll pass that off to Breedlove to tell you about that.
Yeah, and I was just going to say thank you all to the presenters. Thank you for those who are supporting this behind the scene. Thank you for all for coming and witnessing these stories. I think for me, there's something that is true across all three of these projects, that if it's not fun, it's not sustainable. All three of these projects are really tackling difficult projects that are happening in the world, whether that's unsafe communities for women and girls, whether that's food deserts in Chicago, or whether it's fire-ravaged landscapes. And I think it is not a typical response to say that art and creativity and collaboration and community can be part of the solution. But these 3 projects are really showing that it is through our creative, collaborative projects that we can not only help solve those problems, but we can have a really good time while we're doing it.